Welcome back to vlog number 3. In this video we go to Potowatomi, play some 1-3 no limit hold'em, the highest stakes I've ever played, and as you can see we win big. Let's get to it. Shwippy Shwipp, please poker. After about an hour of nothing, we look down at pocket aces. It's raised to 10, we re-raise to 25 pre-flop and get a caller. Check the flop. After it comes jack of spades, king of clubs, 4 of diamonds. Turn comes 6 of spades and we bet 25 and get a call. River comes 8 of spades, we check it, checks back to us. Wish we would have bet this for more value, but we didn't. We do take down the pot though. He had a king and we're looking good. In this one, we raised 15 pre-flop and look down at ace-queen suited. Not bad, not bad. Flop comes 2 of clubs, 3 of clubs, 5 of spades. We check the flop. Turn comes ace of hearts. And our opponent bets 15. Easy call for us. River comes 2 of spades. Our opponent bets 15. I didn't want to raise, but I knew that I needed to for value. Unfortunately, he could have something like ace 4, ace 2, ace 3, ace 5. But it's more likely that he has something else. Maybe something suited with one of those lower cards or an ace with just a lower kicker. So we raise it to 40. We're scared, but we win it. So good thing we bet for value there on the river. This next hand is absolutely insane. $6 straddle, bunch of people call, guy to my right makes it 30. So I go ahead and make it 100 with ace king suited. That's what we do. We do get a caller and the flop comes 8 of clubs, jack of diamonds, queen of spades. And our opponent checks, we check it back. Turn comes, nothing significant, and we have some equity. We have 2 overs, we have a gut shot. I think we have to bet it here with what's in the pot. It's pretty obvious that our opponent didn't hit or as I don't know what exactly, but I think we have to bet this here. I make it 50, get a fold, and we pull in a nice pot. That was pretty nerve-wracking. This next hand we get pocket jacks, and there's a new player at our table and he's got a lot of chips and he's playing incredibly loose and aggressive. Some people might call him a fish. I think he was a really nice guy. And I raise 50 and I do isolate him. And it gets interesting on the river. It actually checks through all the way to the river, which should be a red flag because this guy is absolutely betting everything. And the flop came king of clubs, king of hearts, queen of spades, and then it came 10 of spades, 9 of hearts. So we river the straight. Obviously, we're not betting into this. If he has anything, our jacks are gone. Any bet, probably on the flop or anything, I think we actually have to get out, even with how wide he's playing. But we river the straight, and then he goes all in. So we now have to question, does he have a king with some other kicker that isn't on the board? Or does he have king, queen, king 10, or king 9? And we're getting about 2 to 1. And so with the odds that we're getting, I think we have to call this. Unfortunately, it was super scary. It was tough. And we do call. He goes all in, we call. And he actually does have king 6 off, I think it was. So super scary. We win with our straight on the river. And we take in, to say the least, a real healthy pot. Yeah. I think he went all in for 112-ish, something along those lines. Let's talk about my biggest hand of the night. We get pocket queens, and it is beautiful for a little bit until it's scary, but here we go. Alright, so pre-flop, someone raises it to 6. A bunch of people call. Probably 4. There's probably 4 people in for 6. Then somebody re-raises it to 15. Oh, the guy on my right raised it to 15. I made it 45. I then get 4 bet to 175. Everybody else folds. It's on me. And I'm just thinking, oh my lord, what are we gonna do here? Now, some context for the situation. I had been playing pretty aggressive, as you can see in some of my previous hands up until this point. I was aware of this with my table image. I had also 3-bet this guy a couple times, not because of anything other than I just had the cards to do it with. But I could tell that he was a pretty experienced player, and I could definitely see him doing something like this with Ace King suited. The reality was that he either had pocket jacks, aces, kings, queens with me, unlikely, or ace king suited. So not a good range for that. But it seemed pretty obvious that the pot was already inflated for one, and for two, he was just sick of me raising on him. Like it was just pretty obvious, and he actually says it at one point during this hand while I'm contemplating shoving or folding, obviously for the 175. He has about 175 behind him, so that's half his stack as well. And he'd already committed a bunch, and I'd already just been stealing it pre-flop. Not stealing, but I had the hands for it. So I contemplate for a while. I almost fold it, and then I'd come to the conclusion that because he only raised it to 15 from 6 with 4 people in, I didn't think he had aces or kings, and that was the reason, on top of everything else, that I thought that he could have made this move with ace king because of the skill level that he had. I ultimately shove all in, and he calls with ace king suited. And if you think it stops there, you are wrong. The flop comes ace, queen, queen. I flop quads. It turns a king and rivers an ace. At which point the entire table sees my quads, because I flipped my queens. He didn't show his hand. And they're going, oh my gosh, please have aces. Because there's a promotion for $70,000 that if this man has aces and coolers me with quad queens, every single person at the table gets 3 grand. I would get 30,000. The other guy would get 20,000. Something along those lines. And so everyone's just like standing up there, like, does he have aces? Does he have aces? And I'm like, guys, I don't think I'm in here if he has aces. If he has aces, I'm dead wrong, and I really misread this whole hand. But at which point I'm hoping that I was dead wrong and I misread the whole hand. But we do win it with quad queens. We take an enormous, over $1,000 pot. It was absolutely insane. And I wish I could say that the night ended there. We cash out for 1,000, call it a day. But that's not what happened.
231. Thank you. Have a nice day.
So, what happened? I didn't know if I was going to actually post this or not, but I want to be real with everybody. I want to be real with where I'm at, where my game is, and, I'm no fake. So, I want to walk through some of the things that I feel like I did wrong, and just kind of walk through some bad hands and how I probably should have played them in retrospect. So, here we go. The first one here, and I'm going to throw this on the screen. I have queen of spades, nine of clubs, and I limp in there in the small blind, I believe it was. Board comes 5, 8, 9, so I flop top pair, and so I bet 10 with the top pair, get called. Turn, I bet 15, get called. I bet 20 on the river, and my opponent bets 150. Tight player, and just it was tough because if you take a look, I now have the second nuts. I have the straight, but here's the problem. The pot is only at about 50, 70 with my 20 in there, and he's betting 150 into it. I'm really only losing about 35 if I don't call. I could complain. I could say, hey, I had the second nuts. I had to do it, but the reality is that why is he going to make it 150 with a board like that wet, without, at the very minimum, a queen? So base case scenario, I'm most likely going to split it, get my 25 back, but I'm risking 150 for that? Not a good move. I think that I knew he had to have Queen King. I refused to believe it. And I couldn't get off it. And that was the first mistake of many as we start our downfall. So number 2, Ace of Clubs, 2 of Spades. We limping again. What are we doing? Why are we limping in these hands? That's a question. Flop comes Jack of Diamonds, 8 of Spades, 8 of Spades, or Ace of Spades. What am I saying? Opponent bets into me the whole way. Whole way is betting into me. Super tight player, even tighter than the last guy I'm up against. So he's super tight, and he fires for 50 on the river. And I know that Ace 2 isn't going to be good. At the very least, he's going to have top pair with a better kicker, right? But I dump off another 50 and total about 100, just giving it off to him. So just poor playing on my part. This was actually the hand after I lost the 150 on top of everything. So I was actually tilted, and this is the hand where I should have just left. I think that was the demise of my game. I was there for about 9 hours at the time. It was ready to go. I was tired. My earbuds ran out of juice, and wasn't the only thing that ran out of juice at that point. The last hand, this is just embarrassing, but we're going to say it. We're going to say what happened. We're going to be honest here. 3 of clubs, 3 diamonds, pocket threes, and this guy raises to 17. Now early on he comes to the table. He's pretty loose, but then he tightens up a ton. And I don't readjust to this. I don't readjust to the fact that he's not playing loose like this anymore. And I'd already had a bunch of hands with him where I just had to fold. He was being crazy. And I lost some equity to that. Probably followed a little bit farther than I should have in the first place, but I didn't want to get bullied when he just come to the table. So not super upset about that, but calling 17 pre-flop with pocket threes? Bruh. Unreal. So the flop comes King of Hearts, 7 of Clubs, 3 of Spades. Guess who does a little set mining? Yeah, I hate the word. Actually, my mouth just, I need some soap for using that term, but I bet 15, then 25, call. And as you can see, there's a king on the board, and then the river's a queen. So on the river, he bets 100, and I put him on king queen. This is really, really bad. Horrible. I just talked myself into it. I'm not completely mad about the call. I think it was close. I think I could have gotten to a fold on a good day, but there was a couple factors before that really made this hand horrible, like the fact that I called 17 pre-flop. I mean, I think I deserve this, honestly. So, in case you haven't guessed, he hit pocket queens. He rivered trip queens, and I could say that it was a suck out, and I could say that it really, it just wasn't fair, but the reality is that I could have figured it out, because here's the thing. The king-queen was off, right? So there's not a lot of combinations of king-queen suited, because he's not going to raise 17 with king-queen off. He's barely going to raise it with king-queen suited. Most likely the only hand I'm beating that he's raising that with is ace-king suited, in which case he has a king. But why does he bet 100 on a river with just a king after he's been so tight? So the reality is that I should have been able to figure out that he either had pocket kings, pocket queens, maybe pocket aces or ace king. But the problem is with the 100 bet on the river, I think you actually have to eliminate not aces. Maybe you can leave aces, but ace king probably. So there's very few hands that he's representing that I'm beating. Yo. My camera died, but I'm back. That was getting depressing anyway, so good news that the camera died. Anyways, gonna be working on making some better folds when you gotta do it. Not getting in with pocket threes for 17 and just playing a little bit tighter game and limping a little bit less. So that's what we're gonna be working on, and hopefully coming back to you guys with a win next time. I want to go tonight. Does that make me an addict? We'll see.